Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I guess this is a global conference, so I'd like to say good morning to everyone, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. My name is Randy Ko, as Gil talked about. I'm one of 3 co-founders of Hempsana, currently holding the position of President and Chief Operating Officer of the company. I wanted to thank you for joining us on the virtual investor conference with NAI. I hope everyone is keeping safe and doing well as we navigate through these unprecedented times together. As part of today's agenda, I'll provide a quick snapshot of where we are in the cannabis industry, as well as touch upon some of the growing trends within the industry. I'll provide an overview of Hempsana, our core competencies, and provide background around the opportunity to invest with Hempsana. Hempsana is a private Canadian cannabis extraction company that focuses on the extraction and production of cannabis derivatives. Our mission is to be the most trusted name in cannabis derivatives. We specialize in the formulation of key active ingredients that are used for various cannabis and hemp-based products. Some examples of these are CBD tincture bottles, CBD capsules, and recently we are seeing new products such as CBD-infused beverages and CBD-infused topical creams, to name a few products, on a growing list of innovative new products coming our way. Hempsana has built an ISO 8 and EU GMP compliant facility that can process over 400,000 kilograms of hemp biomass per year. We believe we are one of the largest hemp processing facilities here in Canada. We have been approved for 3 global licenses. The first license is a standard processing license approved by Health Canada, which allows us to process hemp or cannabis flower into various derivatives such as distillate and isolate. The second license is an industrial hemp license approved by Health Canada, which provides us the ability to purchase, import and export hemp and seeds into and out of Canada. And the third is an approval from the Hungarian Pharma Authority to process hemp biomass for the purposes of exporting CBD oil into neighboring European countries. We have established many strategic partnerships and joint venture agreements that have allowed us to secure over 500,000 kilograms of hemp biomass for processing and over 700,000 kilograms of sales agreements as part of our extraction as a service offering. If we look at the cannabis market here in Canada, we see that the industry as a whole has grown exponentially. The year that Canada legalized recreational cannabis, which was in 2018, the market was valued just over $500 million. And over the course of 18 months, we have seen an enormous growth of over 150% with valuation of $2.2 billion as of May of this year. These numbers are staggering from a growth perspective, especially considering some of the challenges that Canadian cannabis has faced over the last 2 years, such as the lack of retail stores here in Ontario. If we look at the current global market of the cannabis industry, we see that currently in 2020, the global market is valued just over $15 billion. Prohibition partners have forecasted that by 2025, with the tailwinds that are coming in the short term, including an expected rescheduling of cannabis by the World Health Organization this December, the cannabis market is poised to grow to $200 billion US dollars. Yes, you heard me correctly. It's $200 billion US dollars. This is an average growth rate of 260% annually for the next 5 years. A major contributor to this projected growth is the anticipated explosion of cannabis 2.0 and 3.0 products, which exploits new ways to consume cannabis and hemp products. Prior to legalization, the majority of cannabis consumers purchase flower-based products. When we look at the current trends in the cannabis market, we see that cannabis 2.0 products are starting to move into various industry segments, such as the food and beverage industry, cosmetics, personal care, and hygiene products. We have the first FDA-approved CBD pharmaceutical and Epidiolex, which treats people with epilepsy. And we expect that this wave of pharmaceutical products will lead the growth over the next few years. Hempsana is very excited for this growth opportunity because all of the products listed above have one thing in common. The products all require the cannabis or hemp flower to be processed and refined into an oil or powder as a key active ingredient. As a result, what we're seeing is that a new trend is forming. In the past, consumers preferred flower-based products, but with the variety of ways in which these products can be consumed, we are seeing a shift and a significant movement towards oil-based products. In fact, in 2018, only 35% of cannabis products consumed were oil-based. But as we look at last year's numbers, we see that the number has increased to almost 50%. And in fact, we believe within the next 2 years, oil-based products will dominate the cannabis and hemp market. This trend provides Hempsana a great vantage point to take advantage of this growth. Hempsana has built a well-balanced management team that has experience in building companies and a great track record on execution and successfully growing multinational companies across a wide spectrum of industries. To highlight a few of them, our CEO, Sohel Manna, has 30 plus years of experience running the largest biopharmaceutical, medical, food, and cannabis testing company at Eurofins. Doug Somerville, who is a director of Hempsana, is the former head of Canada for the largest generic pharmaceutical in the world, Teva Pharmaceuticals. Our Chief Science Officer, Dr. Azo, who has a PhD from a world-renowned university, has developed proprietary extraction technologies and has built and operated over 6 extraction company labs in the US over the last 10 years. He is considered a pioneer in the industry. Together, our team has 100 plus years building and growing companies in big pharma, energy, manufacturing, and retail industries. So how does Hempsana build a competitive edge and monetize on this? First and foremost, our company has spent the last 12 to 18 months investing time and money on technologies that will provide us a competitive edge. We've carved out a niche market where we look to be the dominant player in the hemp derivative space. With our wealth of execution experience and broad industry experience, we are razor focused on being the largest and most cost-effective hemp extraction company here in Canada. Our goal is to become the lowest cost producer of hemp-derived cannabinoids. Dr. Azo brings with him a long resume of cannabis experience, not only in extraction and purification of cannabis, but as well provides access to disruptive technologies in the cannabis industry, which we intend to use and exploit here in Canada. We will be rolling out various service offerings that will cater to licensed producers and end product manufacturers across the supply chain. Some of the service offerings we will be rolling out as part of the monetization plan are extraction as a service, which is a service to produce distillate oil or isolate powder. Refinement as a service, which is a service to further refine and purify oils or powders. Remediation as a service, which is a service to separate cannabinoids. This is especially helpful for companies that are in countries that have zero tolerance for THC, such as China. Manufacturing as a service, which is a white labeling service for various branding companies. As mentioned earlier, our management team was built around execution. And as we look at our operation team ramping up for production, which is targeted for Q4 of this year, we have secured an extraction as a service contract with a Quebec entity that is strategically aligned with a large hemp farming group and a pharmaceutical company that manufactures various cannabis 2.0 products. This contract is over a 2-year term, which guarantees $28.8 million in revenue and upwards of $60 million if we look to expand our production footprint to support their demand. We have also engaged a UK-based CBD company and have solidified an agreement to pursue the launch of 3 co-branded CBD end products in the cosmeceutical sector of the cannabis industry. We anticipate to pilot the 3 co-branded products in the second half of 2021. In order to build on the momentum that our management team is able to execute on, the team over the next year would continue to deliver on existing contracts with an outlook on expanding the contracts alongside our strategic partners. We have started executing on our expansion plans to scale out our extraction as a service offering and expanding our facility capacity to support our growing list of partners that are looking to leverage our manufacturer as a service platform as part of their white label and co-packing businesses. This includes strategic partners that we have been forging relationships with in countries such as China, Korea, Germany, Jamaica, and the US. We believe that Hempsana provides a great investment opportunity to potential investors. This is my 3rd NAI conference, and for many of you that have seen our story unfold over the last 2 years, you have witnessed firsthand the growth trajectory of Hempsana, from a white paper being marketed in Shenzhen in the winter of 2018 to today, where we have 3 global licenses in hand, a large state-of-the-art extraction facility, and most importantly, line of sight on revenue that will provide us positive cash flow immediately. With that being said, I want to provide the details of our non-brokered private placement opportunity. This offering is an investment of up to 8 million Canadian dollars. We'll be offering over 10 million units at 75 cents per unit. The unit consists of 1 common share as well as 1 full warrant exercisable at $1.50. We're looking to close the financing by the end of September. From a valuation perspective, we've seen price compression on multiples for publicly traded companies in the cannabis industry. Based on the enterprise value over EBITDA multiples, our peers trade at multiples between 4.8 and 7.4, which we believe are fundamentally sound valuations. In comparison, Hempsana's valuation of $12.5 million provides an enterprise value over EBITDA multiple of less than 1 times. The growth potential and the current valuation of the company provides great value for investors. It also provides a great entry point for any investor interested in the cannabis sector. Our pre-money valuation of 12.5 million Canadian dollars is based on a very tight share structure of 16.6 million common shares outstanding. We are targeted a Q2 2021 public listing using a reverse takeover vehicle. As such, we'll be closing on a deal with a Canadian shell company shortly and look to execute on a listing requirement for Q2 of 2021. With revenue support and anticipated lift in the cannabis sector, we anticipate a very successful public listing coming next year. I wanted to thank you for your time with me this morning, afternoon, and evening. If you have additional questions or you would like to participate in this private placement, please feel free to email me at randy@hempsana.ca.
Thank you for your good presentation, Randy. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. It's odd to be doing this over video, but I've gotten used to it. We do a ton of Zoom calls now, so I'm sure everyone's used to it now.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at the screen. A few questions just pop up. Maybe just explaining a few more things here. So you got a bit of time. So maybe the first one, it's from Serena Wong on our Chinese feed here. And
okay.
You just want to maybe clarify a bit on your geographical markets that you're focusing on right now. Is it just pure Canada or other markets that you also focus on?
Sure, yeah. So our facility has been built out here in Canada, Goderich, Ontario. So obviously from a homeland perspective, we will be obviously providing products here in Canada. But we have the capabilities to export out into the EU. I mentioned that our facility is EU GMP compliant. So that allows us to export our products out to the EU. As well, I understand that the Asian countries are very accepting of the EU GMP compliance. So we have been talking to several companies in Asia, such as China and Korea. So we are looking at Asia as a place for us to be able to export our product as well.
Oh, good to know that the synergy there.
Yeah.
And I got another question here. Question number 2, which is the closest one here, from an anonymous source. What's the main product here? Because there's a few things that you mentioned. What's the main you're selling, and what is also tag along? What's your 3-year plan? They may want to pick up a more longer term. What's your 3-year plan from now on?
Yeah, so our main product that we're actually looking to provide for wholesale to B2B is to extract hemp biomass and provide either distillate oil or isolate powder. And this would be coming in forms of CBD. Now we have technology that allows us to provide conversions of that CBD into different types of cannabinoids. So we'll start to look at CBG, CBN, THC, Delta 8 and Delta 9 products as well. Looking at the 3-year plan. So when we look at over the next 12 to 24 months, what we're looking to do is grow our wholesale market. We look to getting our extraction facilities built out and expanding the capacity. We're already seeing orders that are going to be fully utilizing our current facility. So we are looking at expansion opportunities. We've identified a location in Saskatchewan, which is beside a hemp farming community, as well as what I mentioned before. We have a Hungarian facility out in the EU that allows us to provide some expansion into the EU. So we're going to be really focused on the CBD extraction of hemp. We're really focused on a razor sharp focus on being able to provide cannabinoids and different types of cannabinoids from the hemp plant. We feel that there's a big void in the cannabis market space as it stands now, as most of the cannabis players have been focusing on the extraction of cannabis plants rather than hemp. We feel that from a global aspect, the hemp plant will be much more desired. And from a regulatory perspective as well, we feel that the regulations will be more favorable for hemp products as well.
Okay, that's good to know. I also got a few questions here. There's a couple of ones that are very similar, so I'm going to ask it together. The question from Keith said, please give us some insights into the IPO date. Also, does Hempsana have planned to tackle the US market? You touch upon that. And the second question from Frank Lin, also asking about your timing wise on the listing. Is it just purely in the listing going to be in Canada? Maybe.
Correct. Yep. Not a problem. So as part of the presentation, I probably glossed over it quickly, but yes, we intend to list ourselves. We're going to be doing a reverse takeover. We've already identified a shell, a Canadian shell. We're in the final negotiations of closing that deal. So we'll have a shell ready for us. We are targeting Q2 of next year to list ourselves publicly. We have some plans on what we want to do from a support perspective, but we have fundamental revenue support that's going to give us a good bump up. And we're anticipating that the Canadian cannabis sector will have a bump up as well. There's a lot of tailwinds that are coming in play. As I mentioned before, World Health Organization is about to announce that cannabis will be descheduled. So that'll probably lead to some deregulation in other countries that are going to deregulate and give us access to CBD exports.
Okay, good to know. Just a couple minutes left still. So I got another question from Brian Hurton here. And he said, any partnership with any particular groups now that you're in place? Or are you thinking of?
Yeah, so we have numerous amounts of strategic partners. We have actually one in particular that we're working on is with a large Chinese manufacturer in China that will help us with our technologies. I'm not able to disclose the name of the company itself, but we are having some discussions around technologies. They're looking at the footprint that we have in our facility and looking at ways to optimize and help us grow our market share here in Canada and from a global aspect. They are a global manufacturer. So we're looking to put together some sort of agreement. But as I said, until the deal closes, we aren't able to disclose the name. Like many companies, we have numerous amounts of strategic partnerships that we're looking at closing. We have another strategic partnership with the hemp farming community here in Saskatchewan. We're looking to provide our extraction expertise to expand our facility out there. That would give us 10,000 acres of hemp farmland that we would have access to as part of the joint venture. So again, that's another opportunity that we're looking to close very shortly. But until that closes, we can't disclose any names around that.
Another question here from Alan, and similarly with another person. What's your product's main competitive edge, like compared to other similar products in the space?
Yeah, so what I had mentioned earlier is that we have some access to disruptive technologies. We have the ability, first of all, to skip the distillation step. So much of the manufacturers that are using ethanol extraction or CO2 extraction, they need to get to a crude extraction, and then as a secondary refinement process, they would need to get a distillation process in place to refine it, polish it, and get it to, we'll say, 80% or 90% distillate concentration. With Dr. Azov coming on board as our Chief Science Officer, what we do is have the ability to get to that product straight from our crude extraction. So our IP from a mechanical and solvent perspective enables us to skip that process. So number one, we're able to produce a product quicker. Number two, less solvents to use. So it's the cost of material and cost of goods is lower than our competitors. And number three, we have an additional technology that allows us to use hemp biomass to convert into various other cannabinoids. A lot of the competitors, which I will not name, that are publicly traded on the exchange right now, they simply use cannabis extracts to get their cannabinoids. Now, the price of cannabis is between $800 to $1,000 a pound. We use hemp biomass, which we are able to get for about $40 to $50 a pound. So if you look at a starting material cost perspective, we have a very strong advantage with that, where we're able to produce the same type of cannabinoids for a lower cost.
Okay, I'll just ask you a quick one, the quick last question for the time is almost up. from a Chinese feed Donghua Chen is asking you, do you, with your products, is there different governments legalization that you really follow have to be because different governments have different jurisdiction and issues with different products?
Yeah, so one of the great things about the Canadian regulatory aspect is that they've gone through and done a great job in providing the gold standard around quality assurance and being able to provide governance around the whole legalization of marijuana. In fact, other jurisdictions around the globe are starting to look at Canada's framework as a model to follow. So if we look at as other countries start to deregulate, the Canadian being the gold standard, they will be very receptive to getting imports from Canada because there's a very high standard around quality assurance from Health Canada's guidelines and framework.
So thank you, Randy, for really answering a lot of questions today. Thank you for your insights too for the cannabis market.